Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, respective radio stations island-wide, Tel TV Plus, Channel 15, and online viewers. I'm Rulaika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice and Acting Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, Lyndon Lewis, to address you. Minister Lewis, you have the floor.
Good morning to the Honorable Minister of Romy, and good morning to the press, and of course, good morning to the general public of St. Martin. I will be brief, as it is important as minister to be very transparent. I have been missing in action because I was off island dealing with some personal issues regarding to my children. Overseas, I've brought back my daughter and my grandson to St. Martin, as my political career, because of the people of this country, has been expanded to another 4 years as your MP-elect. I would also like to thank the electorate for electing me in the Honorable House of Parliament. I do not know if this is the platform to do so, but I would like to thank St. Martin for such a great outcome as being minister as of yesterday for 4 months. As everyone knows, I hit the ground running. It's unfortunate how things happened with developments of forming a government. However, I am dedicated to continue, no matter the capacity, no matter the platform, no matter the party. I am dedicated to serve St. Martin and St. Martin wholeheartedly. Today, I am here to welcome any question from the press, and anything that I can answer right now, I will answer. If I do have to answer on a later date or via email, I will do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lewis. We will now have members of the media pose questions to you one time. That's correct. I would first like to invite Emma Lee of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor. Please pass the mic.
Good morning, Minister, and congratulations on your election results.
Thank you.
I noticed that the enhanced security protocols are still in place on the roads. In other words, that the police have the ability to do enhanced checks on vehicles. How long are you planning to continue that, and what kind of results are you seeing as a result of those enhanced enforcements on the road?
Being here or off island, I am fully informed as to any ongoing operation in St. Martin. Also, I had a conversation with the Chief of Police yesterday. These enhancements is not only based on regular policing, but also in conjunction with the finance department when it comes to checking number plates and if you have paid your fair share of road tax. Also looking at what's going on in St. Martin, we can clearly see that our crime rate since the operations have been lowered. You can clearly see that those that were doing what they were not supposed to be doing has also been apprehended. The police force is doing their due diligence. The work that is forthcoming is beautiful. And like I said, under the leadership of this minister, because I came from the organization, I understand it. I can relate with the chief and all the other different department heads within justice. Things are going quite fine. So I must say, St. Martin, congratulations.
And the question was how much longer? The question was how much longer?
As long as it deems fit, we're going to do it. There's no time frame. As for example, crime can come about at any time. The youngsters have to understand that St. Martin is a very small island. It's very dynamic. And as minister, you're not going to mess with the bread and butter of this country. It is very important that they understand that the vigilance of the police is there. You can see them. I'm not in a police chat, but I can hear everyone, oh, police is here, police is there. It makes me feel good because at the end of the day, people need to understand that the police or the justice workers on a whole is there for the safety and the security of our country. So whether or not people may feel harassed about it, we are taking guns off of the street. It is important that we take these illegal weapons off of the street. They are being tested. to see if they were involved in any crime. And of course, DNA leads to conviction. It is one of our greatest methods in modern day society in order for us to curb crime and put the assailants where they're supposed to be.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Emil. I would now like to invite Bibi Hart Chavez, 7 News. You have the floor.
Thank you, Rulaika. Good morning, Minister. As a follow-up to that, can you give us an update on the being able to bring down the gun violence that had taken over, that caused the amount of extra police force to be brought in and now that have left? And also, can you give us an update on the UNOPS and the prison renovation project? I remember when you first took office, you said you had gotten information that the money, the $2 million that were guaranteed by the Dutch, were going to be taken back. Were you able to keep that money on island and so that the project at the prison would continue?
Well, Bibi, like I say, I'm going to be very transparent. I have mentioned before that allegedly there are criminal activities in the prison. There are different unrest that's going on within the prison. I was also informed from the executive part of my ministry that there's a possible sexual harassment against UNOPS personnel. It is something that is being looked into at this moment, because how it came over to the minister, came over to my person, is that it's either UNOPS or the individual that is allegedly harassing or sexually harassing the UNOPS personnel has to go. This week, as I came back, because I learned about it the same day I was leaving to head to Europe, and today it is one thing that's on my agenda to deal with. I take every single thing within this ministry very seriously, and yes, that discussion will be forthcoming before the end of this week with regards to the allocations of the funds, also with the management, again, of the crime fund with the amendments that were made. I'm going to be looking into this in conjunction with the Staff Bureau of the Ministry of Justice, meaning with the SG, the Secretary General of Justice. She is responsible, broad-based, for the executive part of the ministry.
Can I have a follow-up, please, just to the same question?
You can go ahead, Bibi.
Minister, do you know if this UNOPS personnel filed an official complaint against the person?
That is what I'm going to investigate. Many that say we do not go based on hearsay, but where there is smoke, there was a fire. So therefore, things just cannot come out of the blue where someone can just, or someone's can just make allegations against an individual who is in part of the management team of the prison, can make such allegations. And like I'm saying, I was busy in the March, and the SG and one of her personnel find it very important to approach me and tell me this. But now that I'm back, I'm going to follow up on it. Hearsay or not, action has to be taken until it is proving so or not so, because the project of the prison has to go forward.
And so you can't say if the money has
I
been guaranteed?
cannot say at this moment.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so very much. Ministers, good morning. Colleagues, good morning. Minister, I'm going to just shift to the area of education. I know that some classes have relocated to the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Primary School, I believe 3 classes.
Yes.
What is the holdup for the remainder of the school to completely relocate? Is there an issue that is still being fixed there?
It is something that I still personally have to investigate. Like I said, I just started back on Monday, effectively yesterday, and I'm going to sit with my department at 11 o'clock today to get a broad base on what has been transpiring at the POAS and also at the Martin Luther King School.
Okay, if you can give me a follow-up
Yes,
once
I
you
will.
receive that information, and
Yes.
if I may also do a follow-up also on education. I understand that many public schools do not have textbooks as yet. I personally know of cases at the MLK, for example, where the textbooks have not arrived. So the teacher has to write everything on the board, students have to copy everything in their book, and it just takes longer. And of course, if this continues, teachers would not be able to finish their curriculum.
Okay.
So if you can give me an indication as to when school material, textbooks in particular, will arrive at these schools, in particular the MLK school.
Can I inform you in short?
Certainly.
All these things will be brought up in the meeting because certain things, like I said, if the media don't give it to me, if the parents don't call me, if I'm not informed, I'm just not informed. And like everyone knows, I have the two biggest ministries within government, the most employees within government. So therefore, it is great when I get these type of questions that I can also have the follow-up information from the Department of Public Education.
Okay. Since I didn't get an answer to either of those, can I ask a question?
Unfortunately, no, those were
Okay.
your two questions.
Thank
I would
you.
now like to move on to the second round, and Emily, you have the floor.
Minister, regarding your portfolio of education, this week there was an article in the newspaper where Academy congratulated 3 students that were the top scorers in the CSEC exams. I think it would be interesting for parents who are looking to place their children in high schools if there was a sort of ranking or a little bit more broader transparency in terms of how the different schools performed. Or is that something you're willing to consider publishing some sort of, you don't have to put students' names, but let's say top 20, which schools, something that parents could get a better sense of the actual outcomes of the
Okay,
schools?
well, I find it is a great initiative to do. I always tell people I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I'm not an inventor. As you see, like I said, when I come in, I just pick up from where the last minister left and continue, both ministers. Across on it's the northern side, the French side, they do the same thing. They give, for example, they call it a moyenne générale, so a general average of what the class attained. It is important to do so as it also stimulates the students that are coming in or that is already in school to push forward to do their best. Once doing so, you get great results because everyone is in competition with each other. So it is very great. It's a great initiative that I also can bring up to the management of the organization, that we can start with it, put it within the pipeline, that even if I'm not here, it is continued, as we would like the citizens of this country, meaning tomorrow's future, the children's future, that tomorrow they can also be better leaders than us that is here today.
Thank you. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Marlaika. Minister, you know, when I asked you about a prison and you brought up the sexual harassment, I was shocked because that's my second question. My second question is, there is an allegation of sexual harassment at one of our primary schools. I spoke to you about the incident this morning, and I'd like to know, Minister, did the Department of DPE that is responsible, and I'm going to call him out, Jason Marks, did he involve the inspectorate in this case? I mean, there's a case that I was personally dealing with, and Mr. Marks dragged his feet, never dealt with the case, and it is the same situation we're dealing with today. And we're talking about a primary school where adults are being accused of sexual harassment within a primary school. What are we doing about this? Have you been informed of this case?
No, Bibi. I was shocked when you gave me that call this morning. And as I told you, I will be following up on that situation. Was handling some other business this morning, so I have not sat with the departments as yet. As I'm saying, I will be sitting with them at 11 o'clock, also preparing for Parliament, I think for tomorrow, with the portfolio of education, culture, youth, and sport. So all that information, I will be investigating. I will be asking questions about it. Like I say, it's an allegation, and it's important for us to find the truth. Whether it is so or whether it is not so. So, and when it comes to sexual harassment or abuse of minors, even though of adults it is wrong, I don't play that with children. I have 5 of my own, so I'm not, and I have 3 daughters, and I will not tolerate sexual harassment or behaviors towards minors or anyone. I'm also a former moral detective. So I have investigated sex crimes. You can tell me what you want. I will smile in your face, and I will arrest you later. I don't play that.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Bibi. Judy, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Minister, there seems to be Yes, Minister. There seems to be widespread support for you maintaining the position of Minister of Justice. All over social media, people are expressing that. I would like to know, were you at any stage involved in the negotiations or the discussions for the formation of a new government? And what do you plan to champion once you enter Parliament?
Okay. Bibi, Judy, the press, I am overwhelmed with that support, not only through social media, but also with the thousands, I kid you not, messages that I cannot get to, but I can just scroll through and just see, Minister, we need you back. I will say this, I think I'm the first minister ever, or first politician ever, to get overwhelming support of the country to sit in a seat to govern. My current coalition, basically broad-based, reason it is they have left me out, but the people of this country is getting smarter day by day. When I go into Parliament, I'm already studying the rules of order. I'm not going to put myself in no position that I'm not going to know about. The government will have a problem with this member of Parliament if their work is not being fruitful. Because there will be a next election. And especially if you put somebody in the Ministry of Justice that cannot perform, you're going to kill your entire political career because Mr. Lewis is going to be a member of Parliament. Understand, kid you not, people want me to be in a position, but understand the power of being an elected official, that I won't only touch base on justice. I will touch base on who is the Minister of Rummy, who's the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, who's the Minister of TIAT, VSA, or even the Prime Minister or General Affairs. And it's not personal. If the current coalition that is going to come, that left me out, is doing a great job, anything that they want be supported in Parliament, this member of Parliament will support it. I do not play politics with people's lives.
You said you were left out, but were you at any stage?
Again, I just said I was left out. So meaning I was never invited to have a conversation. And some would say, oh, but after election night, I heard you were in the company of the up party. People, I don't see political party colors. Omar Otley did give me a call, but if people would know further, my mother is an Otley. Okay, I am a Otley. And if anyone wants to speak to me, whether being in politics or business or those from the block, I will have that conversation with them. My loyalty lies with my country. After election, I don't see political colors. I see a group of people that has the mandate to move this country forward. And I am one of those individuals. Yeah, my attendance wasn't great in the Council of Ministers. But any one of them can tell you, I'm the only minister that has stacks of files, also when I'm sitting in the Council of Ministers, reviewing and making decisions on behalf of the people of this country. That is my job. My job cannot be in meetings continuously that is not being fruitful. So if today I am being denied to serve my country for that, then it's okay. Because any capacity or any position that I've served as a legal advisor for 3 ministers before, any capacity that you put Lyndon Lewis in, he will perform.
You sound very hurt by this.
It is not even hurt, it's the disrespect.
Okay.
It is called disrespect because up to today, I also learned from a group of people that met with the Prime Minister up to this morning. and the Prime Minister told them, I did not declare independence. What is that? I'm telling you, I do not play politics. The people made their decision from 176 votes just in January to 440-something votes. And like I tell people, $0. $0. I didn't have to give no one not even $1. I didn't even have to campaign. You know why? Because my work spoke for itself. I also mentioned in the Council of Ministers before, if we stop thinking about elections and work for this country, our work will surpass in votes than any other person outside trying to come in. That is the reason why the people then made their decision at the polls. Again, it is not that I'm hurt of becoming the Minister of Justice again. That's what the people want. I should never want to be in office more than the people want me to be. They made their voice very loud. And if the current coalition refuse to continue the way that we started, because we did not have our 4 years, if you tell me I want to make that decision after, it's okay. But right now, this is dirty politics, and I will say it publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, members of the media. This does bring us to the end of the question and answer session for Minister Lewis. Minister, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Patrice Gums Jr., to address you. Minister Gums, you have the floor.
Members of the media, radio listeners, those online or watching via other media, good morning. Quite a number of updates, so I will get right into the meat of the matter. New Secretary General. I'm happy to announce that as of Monday, September 2nd, Mr. Kenson Plazimoon has joined the Ministry of Romy in the capacity of Secretary General. A former student of MAC and St. Martin Academy, 38-year-old Mr. Plazimoon holds a bachelor's in engineering and worked as a software designer, programmer, as well as a program manager in both software and system engineering projects. In addition, we believe his certifications in leadership, negotiation and conflict management, strategy and anti-corruption will benefit in the positive transformation and rebuilding of the ministry. Having said that, Mr. Plazimoon, welcome home and wish you much success. With regards to the Island Scout, many of you would have taken note of the ministerial decree issued on Thursday last, wherein which the ministry issued a 48-hour notice to the owner of Island Scout, the vessel beached in Great Bay near the site of the former Sinesta Great Bay Resort. In said decree, the Ministry of Romy indicated its intentions to become custodian of the ship within 48 hours. Important to note is that in becoming custodian, the minister is in no way the legal owner of the ship, but has taken control of all matters concerning the ship due to a lack of demonstrated and guaranteed ability of the owner to do so. The Island Scout and the Ministry of Teyat have been in discussions for several months regarding legal maritime matters, but during the passing of Tropical Storm Ernesto, the ship ended up on the shore. Noting the anticipated active hurricane season and the discussions over the past several months, the decision to take custodianship over the vessel was taken. In this phase, I, as custodian, oversee salvaging of this vessel. This is a multi-stakeholder operation, including persons from my ministry, the Ministry of Teyat, as well as support from the Kingdom Maritime Authority in the Netherlands. Assistance from the Ministry of General Affairs and Finance will be called in if deemed necessary. Good news, under initial inspection, very limited to no damage has been observed to either the vessel, the undersea cable, or the environment. As the vessel is still upright, the move from its current site to Port St. Martin is anticipated to go smoothly. At Port St. Martin, the vessel will undergo a more thorough inspection and receive a fit for tow certification. Following this, the Island Scout will be towed out of St. Martin waters to a safer port outside of the traditional hurricane belt. I wish to thank all persons involved in quickly mobilizing this initiative and anticipate the move to the port this afternoon, barring any further delays. Trench contracts. On August 15th, the Ministry of Romi signed the contracts for general maintenance of the country's trenches and waterways. This came into effect on Sunday, September 1st. September 1st. Residents would have noticed extensive work being carried out over the past week to ensure that major areas of concern were addressed ahead of the peak hurricane season, which we are currently in. I wish to highlight two areas in particular which have been problematic for some time. The first of these being the Zegersgut Trench in the area of Correlator Road. Upon inspection of the recently cleaned Zegersgut Trench, Infrastructure Management notified my cabinet on the status of the area near the intersection of Correlator Road and Zegersgut Road. This area is heavily eroded, posing a threat to the integrity of the Correlator Road. The ministry is already working on an emergency situation to tackle this, which involves using large rocks and use of industrial textiles to stabilize the embankment. In the future, the department plans to use gabions, which is essentially just caged rocks, along the exposed banks of the Zegersgut. The department will also use engineering techniques to slow down the water, which would also decrease erosion potential. In general, careful attention will be paid to the manner in which natural trenches are serviced, with a focus on preservation of vegetation on the embankments, which would also help to prevent erosion. Secondly, the Ring Road. The area around what is commonly referred to as the Ring Road has become an illegal dumping site for regular household garbage, as well as appliances, construction material, and car wrecks. Much of this has also ended up in the trenches in between Walter Nisbeth Road, Pondville, and the Ring Road. The ministry has received several complaints from residents and business owners about the situation, and as such, aggressive cleaning of this area, especially at entrance of Phillipsburg, is being undertaken to deter dumping behind and in between the high grass and into the trenches. I wish to inform all persons that the waste ordinance clearly outlines what is allowed and what isn't allowed with regard to disposing of waste, including car wrecks. The country has been plagued with the latter for some time, and I wish to take this opportunity to segue into the general cleanliness of St. Martin. Article 22 of the Waste Ordinance indicates that it is forbidden to have a car wreck on a real estate property other than in the course of conducting business activities. This means that persons must be in possession of a valid business license to undertake work at said site. In addition, Articles 33 and 34 of the same ordinance indicate that it is forbidden in areas that are visible from the road or from a location open to the public to store or keep debris, old metals, or motor vehicles in specific conditions. Said ordinance also makes mention of the manner in which we are to dispose of residential waste, among others. So while many have submitted complaints to the ministry regarding general cleanliness of the island, this must start with each and every one of us holding ourselves accountable. In support of this, the Ministry of Romi, in collaboration with the Ministry of Tiat, and where applicable, the Ministry of Justice, will be carrying out extensive inspections. In addition, the Ministry of Romi will soon receive the shipment of garbage bins and begin with assessing the level of service offered by the garbage haulers. I urge everyone to take the next few weeks to ensure that they are compliant both legally and operationally as we move to a cleaner St. Martin. Very briefly, I wish to inform everyone that we are experiencing challenges in the landfill where we have lost both of our bulldozer as well as our compactor, and as such, they may be experiencing several delays in the processing of garbage when you dump it, as well as the fact that we have since 2019 acquired these machines, but unfortunately there was not a service level agreement in place to maintain these machines. Upon taking office, I have taken the advice of the ministry, and we are now busy with the relevant persons to establish a service level agreement which will ensure regular maintenance of this equipment in fulfilling waste management. Very quickly again, an update on Cassava Road. The Department of New Works and Winter Roads began yesterday to complete the hard surfacing of Cassava Road. This will help mitigate the problems of erosion that this road has seen due to heavy rainfall. It is also the departmental plan to build up the area of the road that has recently been affected by the impact of landslides, restoring it to its original condition. Cassava Road, for those of you who do not know, is in the South Reward area. Again, very briefly on the situation of stoplights, this has plagued the country since June 26. We have not had stoplights at the Prince Bernard Bridge entrance of Phillipsburg. A number of reasons for this. There have been long discussions between the contractor who has damaged the cable as well as government regarding the insurance. And as of today, I will sign off. Finally, the advice on which we thought would have been a very quick solution and come to repair and move the lights forward. Also including more advanced technology, which will include now solar panels in the lights to mitigate instances of GEBE outages, as well as cuts in the cable. And of course, finally, elections. This is my first press briefing since elections. I want to take this time to thank the persons who put their trust in me on August 19th. And to the wider St. Martin for a peaceful, well-executed election. I am happy that the historical calm and friendliness that we are known for has prevailed. I look forward to continuing to serve you as Minister of Rummy as we aim to develop St. Martin sustainably with enhanced support and service from the ministry. In that, I would like to also indicate that for those of you who are still experiencing the impact of the backlog of permits, please redirect your queries, your complaints to the following email. That is Vromi, V-R-O-M-I, hyphen permits, P-E-R-M-I-T-S, at St. Martin Gov. So that's the full St. Martin, S-I-N-T, Martin, M-A-A-R-T-E-N, G-O-V.org. Again, that is Vromi, hyphen permits, at stmartingov.org. And this brings me to the end of my statements and pass the floor back to you, Ms. Roach.
Thank you, Minister Gomes. I would now like to open the floor for members of the media and Emily of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, colleagues. You'd mentioned in the past that you're working on the road tax ordinance. So could you explain to us how much is collected based on the vehicles that we have in St. Martin, and how much is actually budgeted for in the island budget? And the Minister of Finance mentions she's working on the budget for the upcoming year. So will that budget amount change based on the fact that they're going to, I assume, lose money in the general coffer since it will go into the road tax based on the ordinance?
Yep. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. For the total amount collected in road tax, I don't have that figure at hand. I'll have to get that back for you. And with regard to the road repairs, the road fund, the cost for maintaining roads is held by infrastructure management. We currently have a project budgeted of 5.6 million guilders for resurfacing. And then there's a project for new surfacing, hard surfacing of existing roads that's held at New Works. With the cuts towards, with the projected move of the fund allocated for road tax towards the road fund, indeed, there will be a cut within the general government pot. And of course, with the cuts anticipated to the general budget, we are anticipating a shortage in our general operation budget for VROMI. The staff has also expressed their concerns regarding what that would mean in terms of not only operation, but also the ability to also hire. As you know, there are a number of vacancies within the ministry. The aim has been, of course, to see how we can get those filled in the medium term. Of course, with the recent cuts, that would be impacted. So one of the things that we have been working on, and I think I've said it a few times before, is there's a number of ongoing discussions between the ministry and the Dutch government regarding capacity support. That is still ongoing discussions of what we can do. But of course, the idea would be that the Dutch government would supply us with capacity, of course, with the intention that that support is also done in a way that allows for transfer of knowledge and expertise as well. With regards to the budget cuts that we are anticipating for VROMI, there are several, and we're trying to work as efficiently as we can. because I think one of the things that we want to focus on is enhanced quality and service. So we have to see what priority areas are, and those, of course, are for the ministry, drainage and road surface quality. Those have been major challenges for a number of years. So whatever we do will have priority towards those two elements.
Perhaps I'm not clear. With the implementation of the road fund, I believe it will translate into a net drain on the general budget. How is that negative amount going to be handled in the general budget, since the Council of Ministers is in the process of making that budget now? Right? So in other words, with the road fund, more money will be allocated to the roads, which means less money will go to the general budget. How is that deficit going to be handled in the general budget?
So I think I did answer that question where I said, indeed, there will be a loss to the general budget. In terms of how we fill that gap, that has to be discussed still within the Council of Ministers.
But it will be taken up and addressed in this budget?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Minister Gums, when addressing the trench cleaning and all the other cleanup that is taking place, I did not hear you mention anything about the collaboration between the French and Dutch with the car wrecks. I'd like for you to give us an update on that. Also, we are in a peak of the season, like you said. What is the status of the pumps that we have at the various, in case there's heavy rain and, overflowing ponds? And if you can also tell us, there were a number of building permits that were held back when you initially took office because of review. Can you tell us how many of those permits have been executed, and if any of the permits have been retracted because of whatever reason, for it being issued?
Thank you very much, Bibi. With regards to collaboration on the French side, we are still in discussions. It's important to note that the Vice President in charge of that collaboration, of that initiative, has been out due to personal reasons. And she returned to the office this week, and we are going to establish communication. Unfortunately, that communication was not able to be established due to her absence, unfortunately. So that is still something that we are very much interested in, and that we have already gotten the okay from her cabinet that she is still very much willing to have discussions around that, and we are, of course, very open to that collaboration, being on such a small island. With regards to the pumps, as you know, the pumps weren't working, and they were repaired shortly, about a month ago. Currently, what we're experiencing now is that in what is commonly called the Romy yard, how to explain to it, the stand at which the pipes rest on has been sinking into the pond, and we are actually busy now with a sheet piling operation to stabilize the pump, that then the water can effectively pump not only the pump 2, which is currently the one working, but also pump 1, which is still damaged. In the meantime, we have noticed already the advantage of having the pump back in place, and this afternoon there will be discussions carried out still regarding the sheet piling to sustain and support the current system that is in the Great Salt Pond. And then finally, the number of permits that were held back, and I think let's be clear, there were no permits held back. I think definitely it was for review, but every single permit that has come to the desk without much concern has been passed. The only permits that have flagged the attention of my person, the cabinet as well, are those which I indicated in the past would have a direct and heavy impact on the energy supply of the country. Those are the permits, of course, which by law of being the concession agreement of GEBE, we have to discuss with GEBE ahead of granting those permits. That has never been done in the past. I have started doing that. But every other permit has gone forward. With regards to the questionable, about the properties of concern, particularly in the Simpson Bay area, there have been a number of Lobverzoeken, so that's essentially where any citizen in St. Martin can request documentation related to a permit process or any documentation within government. We have received about 3 or 4 of those requests related to properties, developments that are ongoing in Simpson Bay area, and those have been fulfilled and documents have been handed over. Those permits, as you would recall, are not signed by me, so that I can't withhold those permits per se. Those are just permits that I have to now hand over information from. To date, I have not held back any permits. The permits are still under review, and there's a number of them, about 3 of them, I actually will be making a decision on today. And then I think that covers all your questions. Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Bibi. Judy, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Minister, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, you just mentioned something to the effect that wrecks around the island will be picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know on the dump there is very, very large section that contains crushed vehicles. Of course, this is very dangerous in a hurricane season. They can become missiles. So the wrecks that will be picked up in the control that you will be having, where will those go? And is there any sort of plan to address those wrecks that's there? And if you can also at the same time give me an indication as to an update, a status update on that whole landfill project and the relocation of the residents and so forth. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, indeed. Thank you, Judith. With regards to the car wrecks, indeed, the location, just as you exit Phillipsburg towards Surrey Garden, that is where a private company on behalf of government takes all wrecked cars and crushes them, and then they are exported, usually via barge, to another country. Very recently, the company has received a barge, and you will notice a large chunk of that crushed metal has been moving out. Of course, we do have to think very long term about what we're going to do because it's not very sustainable currently. When the picking up of the car wrecks, we've had this discussion because it is a multiple ministries involved. When it comes to car wrecks, it's immediately the matter of the Ministry of Rummy. Where do you store them? We've had discussions preliminary yesterday about possible sites, which I won't disclose now because they may cause some concern. But regarding where we can possibly put picked up wrecks, but also to, more importantly, in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice, how we can support them in collecting abandoned vehicles. Car wrecks can, of course, directly go towards that wreck site, but abandoned vehicles, by law, they have to remain there or they can be picked up by the police and stored. There are challenges regarding the storage, and we're trying to see how we can support the relevant ministries as well, because, of course, island cleanliness and cars being abandoned in waste is not just a Rummy problem. It does impact everything else. So it is very much something that we're having a discussion with regarding where we can put the new cars. And we'll elaborate on that further on, ideally by next week. Press briefing, I'll have a response for you. And then the landfill project, this has been one of the sort of monumental projects of the trust fund. There was the first emergency sort of removal of what is called the red zone, where persons have been moved from the immediate dump site for safety reasons. And what is being discussed now is basically that the landfill has is near reaching its sort of lifetime. There is an ongoing project from the trust fund to review exactly how long that is, because of course anecdotally we can say, oh, the dump is full, but evidence needs to be placed as to really how long is that. Have we passed that yesterday? Are we getting there next week? There is a growing concern, of course, because with the breaking down of the material and equipment from Rummy, as well as a lot of the waste. I was on the landfill actually on Monday, taking a tour of some of the issues that are there, including the equipment that's down. For every 3 days of garbage, we kind of go through at least, I would say, about maybe half of, maybe about a football length of the dump is used for in 3 days. So we have a situation here where the length of the dump is most probably much closer than we actually think it will be. And that's why, for example, we need to look at something more sustainable from a government point of view in terms of recycling, in terms of circular economy. I think it goes back to the fact, of course, of just 2 weeks ago, I signed into law, so to speak, the Waste Authority, which basically is going to look at how we manage our waste going forward more sustainably. One of the key things toward this, and it's not very popular, but we may actually have to reach the point where we start looking at how we charge for the use and disposal of garbage. Because as we know, every sort of incidence of tax is a deterrent. It's also about how we use the landfill more efficiently. Currently, there's a management system of basically we bring in trash and we cover it with dirt. And then we keep piling and piling and piling. Structurally, as many people know, the dump also has some issues around its integrity. It's actually reaching to the point where parts of it are a threat to fall in and collapse upon itself. So it's really a comprehensive approach to not only necessarily getting rid of the dump, but also to, at the local ground person level, at the you and me level, how do we address waste from a point of view of paying for it, as well as how we can use waste more sustainably as well. I'm actually planning to have a meeting with the NRPB regarding the landfill, because there, as much as we still want to maintain and organize what is there is still incoming amounts of waste, as well as illegal dumping of waste material, which shouldn't be at a dump. And also, too, goes back to the fact of there are many people who are dumping illegal construction material alongside the public roads. So again, it goes back to government has a role to guide where we go policy-wise, but that policy can only be supported if we look at our practices individually. So I call on everybody because, you know, I live in Mary's Fancy, and just the other day I was down the hill, and the big bin says, no dumping of household appliances, and right in the big bin was a washing machine. So now government has to take this washing machine and put it on the dump via the haulers, and then when that causes a problem, everyone turns to government, forgetting that it wasn't government who put the washing machine in the bin, it was the individual. So it really has to be a sort of concerted effort to look at how we contribute to the problem that we also have on the dump, but government's responsibility to see now how we can manage and move forward more sustainably.
Wow.
Thank you, Minister. We now move on. That was your question, Judy. So we're going to move on to the second round as we are capped for time. Emily?
Good morning. As you talk about the dump, it's clear that the island, what you're really talking about is carrying capacity for the island. We noticed that Vromi lost its court case against the Morgan Resort, and that development's going to continue. So is Vromi developing a development policy that would allow you to start looking at what is too much in terms of vehicles, in terms of building, in terms of waste produced, all of that tied together into a comprehensive development plan?
Yep. Thank you, Emil, for the question. Indeed, it's one of the key things that upon taking office, I made sure that became a priority, and I think the ministry appreciates it because we've spoken so long about, one, the zoning policy, which my aim is to turn this into a zoning ordinance, meaning that it will go from being something that you can kind of deviate from and interpret as you please to essentially law. The aim is to have that go to Parliament in the next parliamentary cycle, wherein which it essentially sets the baseline as to what is allowed where on St. Martin. Second to that, alongside cooperation from the Department of Interior and Kingdom, we have just signed an agreement for a new spatial development assessment plan for St. Martin, because that will tie into place exactly to how we inform the zoning ordinance. The spatial development plan will essentially guide what is best suited for where. It's an assessment being undertaken by a third party. And when that is sort of come into to play, it will be used to inform how we go with our zoning ordinance. Important also to realize is that I think one of the things that we've been speaking about within the ministry as well is actually doing a carrying capacity study. I know a lot of this doesn't really sound very wonderful for development and developers, but it's a question of we have to look at it comprehensively as you're creating a development for the benefit and enjoyment of the nature of a Caribbean island. If that nature and development is undermined by traffic and poor infrastructure, no one's coming to buy the condo or to stay in the hotel. So the reality is we have to find a balance towards what we can actually carry and As Minister, I said several times, I'm not against development. My family is in construction for several generations. It's about how we do it sustainably and how we ensure that it's not building a condo in a gated community at the expense of people who have to then have sewage water running through their yard. So for me, the spatial development plan is critical and something that we are actually just signed off. The letter was signed off actually yesterday, so I don't know if you've gotten wind of it, but indeed we are working on a spatial development plan alongside the zoning ordinance, and as well as actually just simply implementing the laws that exist. If you have a big project, what is the carrying capacity on your energy sector? How do you move away from heavy fuels towards renewable energies? This all impacts your carrying capacity. So one of the key things that I'm working on too is trying to support the transformation of GEBE to renewable energy. As Minister of Romy and the focal point of energy alongside the Minister of TEAT, it's one of the key things that we're going to address in the upcoming term is how we look at our energy policy and how we actually support cleaner energy alternatives for St. Martin that also impact the quality of life here as well as the experience of a tourist who comes to our island.
Thank you, Minister Gomes. Unfortunately, members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session as our time is up. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. For rebroadcast, tune into stmartingov.org, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Rocha wishing you a pleasant day further.